The problem was my own problem at the time. So I think a lot of people like me were excited about social entrepreneurship / climate. And there's a lot of conferences that talk to you about start working in impact, etc. And you go to like a great business school and everyone talks about impact. Like the first day of my degree, we had a big talk about how we're all going to change the world. And then everyone around me started working in McKinsey, Bain, BCG, investment banking. And I was like, okay, so what are the things I can do, right, to get involved with, like actually have an impact, and not let me work for McKinsey for 3 years and then I'll have an impact. Yeah. Ooh, that's a good one.
What if finding a job in climate was as easy as finding one in tech? In this episode, we meet with Tim Steppich, the founder of In Climate, the platform becoming the LinkedIn for climate. Counting with 30,000 members in more than 100 countries in his community, Tim is unlocking access to one of the most important industries of our time. How would you describe, in your own words, the term social entrepreneurship?
Basically just using business as a force for good, where the impact is generated directly by the business model. And then I learned a bit more about Tom's and about the model of how like you buy a pair of shoes and they donate one, targeted kids in Argentina. So I was like, oh, that's such a cool idea actually. So it wasn't necessarily social entrepreneurship, as I learned later, but more corporate social responsibility. But I was like, oh, there's someone who's doing something good, who's telling that story, and it's like spreading all around the world and being super successful with it. That's insane. And so I suddenly was super excited about the project. I was the only person putting any effort into the project. Kind of obsessed over what other companies are out there. And then I read this founder's book. It's called Start Something That Matters.
Nice.
And that was really inspiring. And then I went down a rabbit hole and then bought books on social entrepreneurship, Muhammad Yunus, microfinance, all of that. And then I wrote my bachelor thesis on business model innovation in social entrepreneurship. So I tried to build a business model canvas that takes in social benefits and social costs. And that was the starting point. And then, I spiraled a bit. And from there, it escalated a bit,
Welcome to Reinventing Capitalism, the podcast where I, Claudia Thomas, decode the success of for-profit impact businesses through the stories of their founders. Our goal is to inspire you towards a purpose-driven career, because life's too short for boring jobs and soul-crushing corporations. Quick note before we get back to the episode. Just give me 30 seconds of your time. 2 things. The first is a huge thank you for listening and tuning into the show week after week. It means the world to me. And the second is that we are just getting started. If you enjoy what we do here, please join the 14% of people that listen to this podcast regularly and follow us on this app. I promise to do everything in my power to make this show as good as I can, now and into the future. Thank you. We're here in Barcelona, in my hometown, where you happen to live. You've lived all around the world, actually, and for what I've seen, you've been immersed in different types of impact work. Yeah. From foundations to social incubators to climate-focused venture builders and projects. So let's start by understanding what sparked your interest for social entrepreneurship.
Yeah, it's actually super random. So I studied in Argentina. So I did like a double degree, Berlin, Buenos Aires. And I had a marketing class. And I joined a group of girls that were very excited about this brand, Tom's. And I had no clue what Tom's was. I was like, why are we doing like a fashion project? Like, what is this? And then I learned a bit more about Tom's and about the model of how like you buy a pair of shoes and they donate one, targeted kids in Argentina. So I was like, oh, that's such a cool idea actually. So it wasn't necessarily social entrepreneurship, as I learned later, but more corporate social responsibility. But I was like, oh, there's someone who's doing something good, who's telling that story, and it's like spreading all around the world and being super successful with it. That's insane. And so I suddenly was super excited about the project. I was the only person putting any effort into the project, and kind of obsessed over what other companies are out there. And then I read this founder's book called Start Something That Matters, and that was really inspiring. And then I went down a rabbit hole and then bought books on social entrepreneurship, Muhammad Yunus, microfinance, all of that. And then I wrote my bachelor thesis on business model innovation in social entrepreneurship. So I tried to build a business model canvas that takes in social benefits and social costs. And that was the starting point. And then, I spiraled a bit. And that from there it escalated a bit. Yeah.
How would you describe in your own words the term social entrepreneurship?
Basically just using business as a force for good where the impact is generated directly by the business model. So selling pullovers and planting a tree would not be social entrepreneurship. But if your business is actually a plastic alternative, or like the actual impact needs to be, that's why I learned Tom's is not social entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And I think there's also a lot of people kind of fighting each other on what is now and what isn't. And there's some examples where I don't even know, like Ecosia, the web browser.
Yeah.
It's like you use it and then they plant trees, but that's actually kind of corporate social responsibility as well. So,
Yeah.
but on the other hand, they're doing it at such scale, so it's hard to say sometimes. Yeah.
There's a lot of different terms in this space, and it's also such a new space that there's new terms coming up constantly.
Yeah.
So I think now we're all trying to define what each thing means, and at some point, probably in a few years down the line, everything will become much clearer, and people that join the space will also, like have an easier, I don't know, I guess playbook to learn all of this. So it'll be easier for them than for you 5 years ago.
And there will be new models as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Yunus then also introduced like a social business, so reinvesting the profits back into the company. So I guess there's going to be different approaches as well. And it's great that some people just do something that's very much just capitalist system and we make a lot of money and then we reinvest it. And you need everything, I think. So it's not like one is good and one is bad. I think it's like you need all of them. Yeah.
I agree. How about climate? How did you get interested specifically in the climate space?
Yeah. Again, random. So I was really into social entrepreneurship. I found this master in Switzerland that sounded like a very fancy master, and everyone wanted to get into it in St. Gallen. Like all the German business people wanted to go there. I was really excited because you could start your own nonprofit. So I joined that master, and I was just desperately looking for kind of my place in that social entrepreneurship realm. And then I just kind of tried to rationalize, like, what is that? So there is sustainability, there is healthcare, there's education, empowerment. So I just kind of, I don't know, I need to rationalize things sometimes. So I just kind of drew my map of what's out there. And then I actually didn't have that clear focus at the beginning of it needs to be climate. But then I had a lot of people telling me what I should be doing, where they could see me. And one of the things was venture capital. And a lot of people were like, Tim, you're always networking, you're always talking to people, and you really get really interested in things. So why don't you go join a VC? And I was like, but isn't there like a VC in social entrepreneurship? And then a friend of mine, Thomas, he sent me a link to Pale Blue Dot, the climate VC. And I thought that was so cool. And so I obsessed over that. I think that was 2020, 2021. And then over like internships and where I worked, I kept on just pushing that my work would be focused on climate. And it kind of, again, went down the rabbit hole. And then that made me just think, okay, climate is the one problem that makes all other problems worse, like how it affects healthcare, how it affects education, etc. So I was like, this is the one problem. And this was the one problem I think we can get a lot of people behind. And I got really excited about it. Realized how big it was and was like, I should focus on this.
Really cool. And so fast forward a few years, you founded a platform called In Climate.
Yeah.
What is the problem that In Climate is solving?
Yeah, the problem was my own problem at the time. So I think a lot of people like me were excited about social entrepreneurship / climate. And there's a lot of conferences that talk to you about start working in impact, etc. And you go to like a great business school and everyone talks about impact. Like the first day of my degree, we had a big talk about how we're all going to change the world. And then everyone around me started working in McKinsey, Bain, BCG, investment banking. I was like, okay, so what are the things I can do, right, to get involved with, like actually have an impact, and not let me work for McKinsey for 3 years and then I'll have an impact. Yeah. So I just, in climate, the idea was just let me publish my research about what does it mean to work in climate and what are the companies out there. That was really the starting point. What are the companies in Europe that are developing a climate solution? And I just put that on a website. I think it was just 1,000 companies. There was one database from 2 venture capital funds that they created together. So I cleaned that up, and I worked as an investor myself at the time. And so I just added data to it as I was sourcing climate companies. And then I made it public, kind of open source. I added a little button like add your company. And it was like a horrible form that you could fill out, and then you could add your company. And that's how it started. And
you need to start from somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And then, it kind of escalated from there, and kept on adding things. And
really cool. And so where has the community evolved to? Like, tell us, if I were to get into the website right now, what are my options?
Yeah. So you basically have three options.
Okay.
The straightforward thing and the first thing we kind of got into is just jobs.
Okay.
So I think a lot of people we always now, our tagline is like make work matter. So a lot of people are looking for a job with purpose. And that was the first thing back then only me built that kind of went a bit viral. So it's just a job board, a job alert, a company directory, and companies can just hire talent. There's like an applicant tracking system, what you used to from a LinkedIn. So basically,
can you apply through your website, or they need to go to the company directly?
Yeah, so it's kind of a mix of both. So some companies don't have their own applicant tracking system, and then they can use the platform now.
Okay.
But most companies do have one, and then we just forward candidates, because otherwise it gets really messy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the first thing, just jobs. So anyone who wants to work anywhere in the world, we basically try to get as many jobs as possible on the platform. I think it's now like 10,000 jobs a month or so.
Wow.
And then you can filter them by, is it a hardware product or a software product? What climate solution do they work on? Is it in Nigeria or Germany or the US? And you can set up a job alert, and then every week on Monday you get an email from me, and it's like, hey, here's all the jobs that match your preferences. That's the main thing they do.
Do you do it manually?
No.
Okay.
No. It's an automation. And the second thing is community. I think that's the thing I'm most excited about. So back then I was looking at how can I get involved in this space, given that I don't know anyone and anything. And I found some US-based communities I thought were super cool, like work on climate and climate base, but they were all completely US focused. And there was like Work on Climate had a Slack channel, and there was like a sub community for EU, and that was all there was. And so I thought, okay, we need to have a European.
This is my opportunity.
Community, exactly. And so we have a community space where people can connect. We run like 3 standard events every week where people can connect, ask questions. We have like a huge members directory. We can find people, etc. So
is it, online or in person as well? All of these events?
Both. So, for example, now in Barcelona, we're going to have our climate drinks event that we used to do once a month. Now we're doing it for the first time this year. We have people meeting for coffees, for breakfasts. Members can self-organize events and meetups. With people going for hikes in Barcelona.
Super cool.
And so the idea is really built that, like a platform where people maybe first meet digitally, but then they go have coffee or they have a one-on-one phone call, and then hopefully as many events as possible kind of, come out from that. And the last part, which I'm super excited about, is insights. So that's maybe actually where we started. What are actually the companies that develop these solutions, right? But also now we're putting together deep dives, starting with Ocean Tech. So what are the companies in Ocean Tech? Who are the people working at these companies? Some statistics. Are these companies non-profit, for-profit? Where are they in the world? And things like that. And
you share, in your...
On the platform.
On the platform itself, there's going to be like a space where it's insights, and then people can learn about the industry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the platform is literally in the header, it just has jobs, community, insights. And that's the whole navigation. And so, if anyone's looking for jobs or hiring, if anyone wants to connect community, and if anyone wants to learn more about climate, that's the insights.
Super cool. It's a very well-rounded offering.
So I think it took a long time, but now it's cool that we track all the events in the space. With the deep dives, we're going to have also like news, people, etc. So now this mix of events, meetups, users, company data, job data, we can put it all together, and then it turns into a nice flywheel. Yeah.
How long do you think, more or less, it took you from the initial scrappy website to having like these 3 concepts materialized?
It took ages. So the first year was just adding resource after resource with no strategy behind it. Maybe some ideas, I wouldn't call it a strategy, but company directory, job board, etc. So like step by step, then figuring out the job alert, figuring out how to scrape these jobs automatically and things like that. And then we had like a first business case, and so it really went step by step. It's hard to say when it all really made sense, but we've also tried a lot of things. So I think now this year, it's after 3 years of doing a lot of different things, we're finally settled on exactly how it all works and what the business cases are as well. But we have 15 different user groups on the platform, and at the beginning we tried to build like a custom flow for if you're academia or you're looking for a job, you're an employer. It was all different onboardings. And it was complex. A mess. It was way too complicated. So it took a lot of just changing the website, changing the website. And eventually it was like, jobs, community, insights, that's basically what we do. And I think only last year we changed to that navigation. here
Really
we are.
cool.
Yeah.
You have a lot of, again, like different offerings. And sometimes I feel that it's hard to track the success metrics of what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through the data or again success metrics that you track from, I don't know, since people join the platform to applications or success in terms of how many people have actually found jobs? Like, which is your journey and what data do you track?
Yeah. So until last year, to be honest, we didn't really track anything because we just forwarded people directly to the website of companies.
So you didn't know what was happening.
Exactly. And it was just a technical reason we couldn't do a nice like saving action and forwarding people. So the UX would have been horrible otherwise.
Okay.
And so we just decided, okay, let's just build the best user experience.
Okay.
Let's get a lot of people in. Beginning of this year, we changed it. And now we track every application. And actually, as you apply, you have like your own little tracking system. You have like your mini CRM.
Okay.
You see all the jobs. You can mark them like, oh, I got an interview. I applied. This didn't work out. So now people have their little table where they can move jobs around. And that way we can start tracking it finally.
Okay, really cool.
But until last year, it was basically, we have a weekly intro call where people can come in. For example, this girl, Laura, jumped on an intro call and she's like, hey, I'm Laura from Brazil. I just thought I'd join because I just found a job doing climate. And yeah, I thought I'd, connect and say that out loud. I was like, oh, amazing.
But you had no idea.
No, I have no idea. I never had an idea. So you see like thousands of people using the platform, but no one tells you, or sometimes someone writes me personally or on the company kind of contact form a message like, hey, I just found a job. And it's always super exciting, but there wasn't a way for me to track it. Yeah.
That's going to be super cool to actually be aware of the impact that you're having.
Yeah.
Also, then you'll be able to share it better with your community or your audience, but also for, like your like personal reasons, you'll be able to tangibly see how you're helping people.
Yeah, it's really rewarding because right now it's like whenever people tell me in person, it's amazing, right? But then to be able to really track it. And also, on top of that, it also makes a lot of business sense because now, before, our job was convincing companies to not hire through LinkedIn, but hire through us. That's how we made money, right? So how we still make money. And then if we would give them a free trial, we would need to rely on them to track how successful it was. And now we can track it. So we can say, okay, so many people saw your job, so many people applied, you actually hired this person. So it makes my life so much easier.
Much easier.
So I'm excited to look at the numbers, like maybe after a year, maybe after 6 months now. Yeah.
Really cool. I'm excited too.
Yeah, let's see.
How big is the community? And how do you count or which members are part of the community? Yeah,
so the first thing we look at is always like kind of our top of funnel where we bring people in is we send out a weekly digest where we just summarize everything happening in climate, and that's 30,000 people reading it.
30,000? Wow, congratulations.
So that's kind of, thank you. That's kind of what we always say, like in the network, in the ecosystem. Out of those 30,000, 18,000 are signed up on the platform. And now we just built like a new kind of members only community. So that's only the first 200 members. And this year is like the goal to get to the first 1,000. But ultimately the goal is, get as many people from that ecosystem to join. And then every month we have like 20,000 monthly active users. So people that come to the website. So not monthly active users, maybe the wrong word. 20,000 unique visitors every month. Yeah.
That come to check out climate jobs. Yeah,
come to check out jobs, or they land on any of our landing pages. A lot of people come to jobs, to SEO.
But mostly, if you find someone or someone finds you through SEO, for example, what is the main thing that they do in your website?
Yeah, the main thing is they're looking for jobs.
The job, okay.
Exactly, and companies and investors we approach kind of directly via email, via LinkedIn, etc. Content tailored to that. But SEO is mostly people looking for jobs. And a lot of word of mouth, so people tell them about in climate, and then they kind of Google what is this, and then they find us.
So tell us the 3 key things that have helped you to grow this community.
Yeah, I guess the main thing is just starting by solving my own pain points and being very transparent about it. I'm still trying to be more transparent even. But I just always posted a lot on LinkedIn at the beginning, to be honest. I think at the beginning, 90% of our website traffic came to LinkedIn.
Okay.
And it was just me as Tim posting on LinkedIn, like slicing the data and being like, here's all the jobs in fashion, and here's all the jobs in Germany, and here's the startups hiring in Italy, and random things like this. That turned out to work really well. And then always with like a call to action to the website. So that was that really helped. The second thing was just, I mean, I started completely by myself, right? Not even a freelancer or any help. So I had just a lot of conversations with people. I think the one thing I had no clue how to build a website, not a front end, not a back end, no idea. And so, but I was always a very social person. And so I just asked people like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Like, do you know anyone? And then people would recommend me, talk to this guy, Stefan, who's building something similar, but for VCs and like a database for them. And then I talked to him and he's like, oh, you can just use these no-code tools. And so it helped a lot that just I had a good network of people that gave me tips and tricks, and they recommended me to the next, to the next, to the next. But to be honest, I came like from a business background that's tailored to consulting. So I had no clue how to do LinkedIn marketing, SEO, website building. So it's just a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
And then in the weekly newsletter, I would put like, hey guys, like I'm stuck with this. Is there a product manager here who can help me? I'm trying to build a scraper. And then a guy, Pavel, from the community here from Barcelona, reached out. It was like, Tim, happy to help you. I'm looking for a job in climate, so happy to help you with the project. And so that's how it started. And a lot of things happened because of people helping out. And then another person, like really now friend that I met in Cape Town, took over from Pavel and helped them improve the tech. And so it's been really like a constant trying to be public about it. Often also like not sharing what I'm doing and then realizing, oh, I'm building all these cool things and no one knows about it. We should probably do marketing and not just word of mouth. And it's just been 3 years of learning how to build a business and trying and talking to a lot of people and jumping on podcasts and things like that. So yeah, it's so hard to say the top 3 things. I think number 1 thing, network. Number 2 thing would be no-code tools. No-code and AI tools, mostly no-code actually, that you can just build things really quickly in a horrible way. And I think the third thing was just I was like really obsessed with this idea. And so, yeah, it's been my life for 3 years, like 80 hours a week. Like, so I think if I hadn't had the passion, no way I would have followed through. Yeah, no.
Gotten to where you are now.
No, definitely not. Yeah.
I liked point number 2, where you explained very humbly how a lot of people have helped you, and you are someone that you also help a lot. So I think that you've gotten that collaboration aspect where you know that at the end of the day, you need the people around you to help you build something. The more that, I think the more help you get, then the more that you want to give it back. And I think that's really nice to contribute back to other communities.
Yeah, and I want to do it more. I feel like sometimes, I was telling you earlier before this chat, like yesterday I sat down and I wrote a few thoughts about how this has evolved over the last 3 years. And it's hard to stay transparent the moment you build like a B2B company, because now you need to be taken seriously, right? Like you're talking to recruiters and you want to make sure they're like, they think, okay, this is a proper business with a lot of people behind it. And the moment you're like, oh yeah, I've been building this for the last 3 years and these are the things we struggle with, it's hard to convince a recruiter. And so I feel like it's become less and less transparent. And then in the last months, I was like, oh, this is actually not what we want to do. So now we're trying to be more transparent again, and I want to tell more people like, we haven't quite figured this out, like how can we do this, because there's so many people who love what we're building, so it's so cool if they can get involved. So I will definitely have to get better and better at it as well. Yeah,
absolutely. We were also discussing earlier how hard it is to be a solo founder, because there's so many things to do at once, but then you're actually alone in tackling them and making them happen. How has AI changed that, and how is AI helping you organize yourself and getting things done?
Yeah, I mean, my ChatGPT knows everything about this company, not personal data, but has really become like an assistant, where I feed it everything I do, everything I think about, documentation. If I write something for myself where I'm trying to structure things, I feed it into it. So also when I see someone doing something great, let's say like another community does something really well, like a great onboarding, I send it to ChatGPT. I'm like, hey, save this for whenever we rethink the onboarding. And so it's really become like a personal assistant. Right now, that's the main use. And then I hope that soon it's going to be much more integrated. So not to get too boring, but we're changing a lot of backend stuff. And then soon we can actually integrate AI into the product. So we can automatically read job descriptions. We can understand the language requirements, if there is a salary in it. So we can much better than tailor the data and add filters and tags, but then also obviously matchmaking. So I hope, my dream is to one day just have a chat interface where you can say, that guides you a bit through what climate is, but then also, hey, so maybe should we start by figuring out what the companies are in your region, or should we look at the sectors you might be interested in that really takes you through it? And then it shows you the jobs and maybe even automatically applies for you and sends your CV over, or really build that. I mean, I don't know how soon that will be possible, but I think a lot can be done around that. So let's see how much more.
It will happen for sure. Hi. Can I ask you a quick favor? Every week, we dive into the stories of founders that do more than just make money. Our mission is to prove that a career in impact can be both purposeful and financially sustainable. If you believe in creating meaningful work, share today's episode with one friend who's ready to make a difference. It would mean a great deal to me. Your support is what keeps this show alive and growing. Thank you. So what's the hardest part for you in terms of being a solo founder?
Yeah, I think it's really hard. I think I was lucky that the first thing I built kind of really worked in terms of traction. It must be super hard if you build something by yourself that requires a lot of capital. Of course, in my case, it didn't require a lot of capital, software, no code. So I was lucky that way, but still then you're obviously the only person with really skin in the game, and you're the only person putting 80 to 100 hours a week.
Yeah.
And to sustain that is really difficult, and then you're the bottleneck for everything. A lot of things are like, they make a lot of sense in your mind, but you need to say them out loud sometimes, and someone needs to tell you, Tim, this doesn't make any sense. And so often I've just launched a feature and it made no sense, and then obviously you learn that way as well, but often I'm like, I wish I would have talked this through with someone who was really involved with the project as well. So I think that's the toughest part, and I'm really impatient. I always want things to be done yesterday, but I'm the bottleneck now, so damn it. You just can't. You have a limitation of the speed, and so I think that's the toughest part. And sometimes you need to decide. So what I love about this is I learn a lot of things on a daily basis, and I think coming out of business school, you don't really know anything. And then it's so fun to learn everything and to build a back end and a front end and all of that. And it's hard because you want to learn everything, but you also know that it's sometimes not the best for the company if you do everything, but you should just focus on making money and then pay someone else to do it way better than you could. Yeah. So there's always a struggle. I always want to get involved in everything, but sometimes I know I shouldn't. So it's a difficult balance. Yeah. This
leads me to thinking that our conversation earlier as well, how we're both both of our missions are about inspiring talent to work for impact companies. What do you think is the biggest dissonance in someone that's unhappy with their job, that wants to find purpose in their work? Which is what's something that you see that needs a reinvention?
Yeah, I think most people don't know where to start. I think once you take a few steps, especially to work in climate, but generally in purpose, I think at the beginning it's very overwhelming because no one takes you by the hand, and you usually you sit probably alone at home or at the office in the job that you don't like, and now you sit there by yourself and you need to figure this out. I think that's so frustrating. And then maybe you put some keywords in Google or LinkedIn, and then you don't even really know where to start. And so I think that's the toughest part. Even if you already know you want to work in climate, we have climate in our platform divided into 98 subsectors. So it's huge.
98.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Because it touches everything, right? We always say it's the digital transformation for sustainability, basically, touches all the businesses. And so now as an individual to go through that yourself is really difficult. So I think that's the first thing. And the moment you have a few first conversations and people know what you're looking for, it makes your life so much easier, because now you have these people who are let's say Tim is a marketer and he wants to work in climate. So now you tell one person and they refer you to another. Maybe you have 3-4 phone calls, and suddenly you have an extended network of people that will hear about, actually, I know this guy that really wants to work in marketing and he seems really nice, so you should talk. And I think that's the hardest thing. There's this book, Never Search Alone. So we try to implement that in the community, that you always have a peer group and support group. And that's why we started doing these climate AMAs on Tuesdays. So I just sit there for an hour.
What AMAs?
Ask me anything.
Okay.
So I just sit there and people join. Some people don't even have questions. They just want to kind of be in touch with other people. And people can just ask their questions. what the heck is climate, and I don't know, what is like a trendy industry, or how do you talk to recruiters? What is a pre-seed startup? Do startups pay well? Like, so they can ask all these things. So I think I think the main thing is just like starting to build your network. I think that's the toughest part. And once you have that, I think people can point you to the right resources. Most people in Europe find jobs through personal relationships. Unfortunately, it's great for people who are good at relationship building. It's not so great for people who aren't. So I think that's I think that's really the hardest part. Like, just starting and connecting with people.
And what we were discussing earlier as well, it's important to say that the companies that are in your platform, they're just companies that their product or service is addressing a climate problem.
Yeah.
But a lot of job seekers don't have a background in climate.
Yeah.
So you can transfer a lot of your skills into an impact vertical, and in this case, climate.
Yeah, perfectly. I think a lot of people think that they will need to have a sustainability background suddenly.
Yeah, exactly.
And the second profile, I think, is more people coming from the public sector.
Yeah.
And they just don't understand this private sector, startup world, all of that. And then they don't even know what is a founder's associate, what is a project manager. Like, it's hard to find your place then, yeah.
Where do you hope in climate will be in 5 years from now?
I really hope we get to this point where the flywheel really takes off, in sense of people all around the world meet and connect and talk about working in climate in person. Obviously, we will still do a lot of online things, but I'm just really excited by this idea to say, this month we have 30 meetups in Tokyo and Berlin and everywhere, and people just connect and meet, because I always joke that we've started to become a running club for sustainability, where a lot of people, like their friends, suddenly become like my friends here in Barcelona. Most people work in climate, pretty crazy, or want to work in climate. And there's like a value alignment of people who want to make a difference with what they do. And so I would love that we could really kind of build this movement of people in an accessible way, and not something that people feel like they can't be a part of. Like really making anyone feel like, I can find a job like this. I can be a part of that. I can connect with people and start having conversations. And right now, obviously, it's very tailored to working in climate, building a company, or investing in climate. But it would be great as well we have some people in the community who work at corporates, like corporate innovation, and they're just curious. We have someone that works for a big bike supplier, and they want to figure out our batteries, how can we recycle them for the e-bikes? So I would love that really becomes more of like a mainstream place that people just know, if I want to change my company from within, or I want to join a company, I want to make a change in my life, that there is a place of like-minded people and they connect. I think that's really the core. And then there's a lot of nice things around it, and I love the tech, but that's the one thing that I'm most excited about, that hopefully we can take that really like global, and that people are just really excited about it, they tell their friends, and we built this really cool place. Yeah.
Do you have any ideas on how we can reinvent capitalism?
Yeah. That's a good one. I think right now the biggest problem is that the investment funds or all the capital is not really aligned with the solutions we need. So a lot of changes we need is infrastructure, and a lot of solutions we need are hardware or industrial goods. And a lot of these startups, which can come up with these great solutions, they then rely on all these venture capitalists who still have the same investors themselves, the LPs. And so they need to invest in things that they can kind of compare on like the risk return with all their other companies they invested in. So now everyone's like, we build a climate fund now. And often it's like just a rebranding of the existing fund, as in like, this is the person that now invests in climate, but then they have the same approach, and so now they only invest in software as a service. And so I think that's really missing, because that drives the startup so much. They become big companies, they get acquired by corporates, they integrate them in their business, all of that. And I think like funding and regulation have such a massive impact on it. So I hope that there will be big changes to how that works right now. I don't really know how. So I think there's
you or nobody.
Yeah. I guess there's some first models of like catalytic capital and some models and ideas, but it's tricky. It's very tricky. So but let's see, maybe AI has the answer. maybe everyone builds their own companies now with just prompting and AI, and suddenly becomes much easier. I don't know. Yeah.
Now that you mention AI, do you think AI will accelerate the transition towards climate solutions and then consequently resolve the climate problem?
I mean, definitely. So, I mean, there's a lot of companies already that focus on a lot like data analytics and helping industry or corporates do things differently by analyzing their data better. I mean, that's also really kind of catchy for VCs. It still is in that software play, so it kind of works. So there's a lot of stuff happening there, but it's not the solution. I mean, a lot of it is as well just really driving changes, as in like just that the energy mix gets much better, and then we figure out how to balance this grid. And sometimes an AI can play a big role, but I feel like often it's just I don't know if it's not enough capital or not the right business models are in place, or it's hard to change from this old oil and gas-based system to a new one. So I'm a big tech optimist, so I think AI is going to do a lot of great things, but a lot of it just also needs like people to change their minds on how to do things. So yes, but not the only answer, I guess. Yeah.
I like that not everything resolved around AI.
Yeah, exactly. Not everything can be ChatGPT way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have one last question for you, which is, what's one business you'd start tomorrow if you had to pick something different to what you're doing today?
Yeah, so that's a good one. I mean, let's say that the adjacent thing I always tell people that I have two ideas. So the most still a bit adjacent to what I do now, but I'd love to bring more people together. So I always talk about like how I'd love to like have like a place where founders, investors come together and they co-work and they have coffee together and then they discuss ideas. So like more like a physical meeting space. So maybe I would have like a little co-working space focused on climate, but still climate. If I went completely different, I would probably become a photographer. I'm obsessed with photography. I do like portrait and street photography whenever I find a minute.
Really cool.
So yeah, actually when I was still in business school, my dad was always like, don't you want to do this photography thing?
Really?
And so yeah, that's kind of maybe in another life, maybe in a few years, but I'm doing a lot of photography on the side, and I'm actually running around at all the climate conferences and I take pictures of people. I take portraits. At the job I took 115 portraits, and so I want to combine that a bit within climate. But yeah, maybe I'd be like a photojournalist, maybe then still focused on climate, but
really
but
cool.
yeah.
Do you mostly focus on portraits, even if it's street photography?
Yeah, so maybe people photography is like a better term actually. So I really like capturing moments as they are. So it's nice to like take portraits of people working in climate. But I'd love to. I take pictures of people like just walking on the street, going about their day. I don't know, little like even like sometimes not even people, but a gesture. Like the other day in Barcelona, there was someone with like a fence in front of their window and then like a phone out and the cigarette here, and then just a picture of that moment of you just see the phone and the cigarette. And I like these little moments. So yeah, but portraits are also really powerful, but I like authenticity. So I like capturing a moment, which is very out of your comfort zone to just walk on the street and take pictures of strangers. But
do you feel bad about it?
No, like if it's a nice picture, I usually then approach them and I tell them about it. For example, I have a picture of two people that were doing a wedding photo shoot on the beach in Portugal, and next to them there was two surfers coming out of the water, and it was such a cool picture. You have these two people getting married in their wedding dress and suit, and two surfers in their wetsuit.
What
and
a
they
contrast.
and they were super excited about the picture. And so sometimes it's really lovely, and I think people look their best when they don't know that they're being photographed. But sometimes it's hard to learn like the ethics of it as well. Obviously, in the US, you can just take a picture of anyone, which is crazy. Here, of course, you can't just like hold a camera into someone's face and be disrespectful. And so it's a tricky one, but it's also beautiful to like really capture what's happening. But yeah, usually I approach them people afterwards and I say, look, I took this. So, but it's at the beginning you get very nervous. I still get nervous. Yeah.
Really cool. I hope that one day you actually make this happen, or just continue to do it on the side, because climate and photography could be very much blended. So thank
Actually,
you.
quick one.
Tell me.
Before, there's actually an Instagram page now for In Climate, which is People in Climate.
Okay.
And there's going to be portraits of community members.
Okay.
I actually brought my camera and I'm going to bother you with a picture as well if you want to.
I'd love that.
So yeah, so if people want to check that out, I'll do that a bit more.
Yeah, I'll put all the links once the episode is released.
Awesome.
So thank you so much for being here, for building In Climate.
Thanks for having me.
I think it's super interesting and it's amazing that you are mobilizing talent towards the climate space, and I will make sure to help you with that and to show your platform to everyone that asks about the industry, and make sure to tell them that you don't need a background in climate to work in climate. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.